What I would like to do is show some simple exercises on the foam paper. The thing about the foam paper is it may appear elementary, but it's not. The minute I get a new needle or I want to try a stroke or a way to move in the skin, the first thing that I'm going to do is go right to my foam paper. So it's regular craft foam that you would just purchase at any craft store, like a Michael's or an A.C. Moore. There are a few needle selections for the eyebrow that I would choose. I would use a 3-liner for a solid brow, which, you know, we get fewer requests for than ever. And right now I'm going to start with a 3-slope for a hair stroke. And I'm going to be using a 3-slope along with a single. My machine is on 140. I'm going to place the foam the way that I would normally work, which would be right-handed, but I also do get behind. The thing that I find so unique about the slope is that you can move it both ways. I can lead with my shortest needle, so my touchdown is slightly leading with my short needle. And I want to do a sketch of this brow, so if this were my pencil, I want to be able to wipe that off. I'm using my lighter color at the moment. I'm coming off the skin just as a glider would. If you were a glider just taking off, you want to just come out of the skin very, very slowly. Here's where I'm going to create a dovetail, leaving a lot of space in between because I want to come in with my darker hairs. Now, at some point, the brow in its natural pattern will change direction. So let's say on this particular gal, she's changing direction about here. And again, I'm using what I would really use would be Hershey Kiss, a couple drops of coffee bean, and a very small drop of butterscotch, just to keep that gray out, because you're using really the 3-slope is the same as 3 singles, so it's very much like a single needle. The thing that I love most about the slope needle is that it can travel through the skin in many ways. I'm just using a little green soap and water to clean this up. So I have my sketch. I would go to the other brow. I would numb this brow, put my topicals on with a thin coat of Vaseline to occlude it, and, excuse me, and speed up the action of the topical anesthetic. And then I would go to this brow, and I would do my sketch on this brow. And by the time I come back, she is really comfortable, and I can really take my time and work slowly. So I'm not going to do, you know, a lot of fancy footwork here. I'm going to be connecting and working in between and staggering. You know, everyone looks for an exact pattern in creating a hair stroke or a hair simulated brow. In my mind's eye, I feel it's too contrived. I don't want them on top of each other, but at the same time, I don't want that cookie cutter brow. I just have such a distaste for that because it doesn't look well on everybody. I work more on the subtlety. Remember, I want some space here because I want to come in with those darker hairs. I will tell you, just from experience, that your two-tone brows on your initial procedure will not show up as well as if you use that second color on the touch-up visit. Notice I'm changing my speed. By changing my speed, I'm changing the amount of color that I'm depositing. I'm not changing my machine, I'm just changing how fast I'm going through the skin. Exactly. The slower I go, the more color I drop. Now I can come behind her, which I often do, and I can come this way. And I'm creating that beautiful dovetail. And again, not too in such an obvious pattern that you can count every hair. I prefer it on a little more subtle. If I start here toward the center and not make those uniform hairs, I'm actually getting a little more deposit toward the middle of the dovetail, which in a natural brow, the depth of color is through the middle. So this works really well. And a lot of people liking, preferring to work from behind, this really does a great job. But that's what I love about the slope. I prefer a 3. I have more control with a 3. I'm going to cross them again here. Keep it really, notice when I slow down how much more color I get in there. This is, it's a 3 slope, which is a flat, and but it's slanted so that I can simply land with that slant just exactly where I need it to be and push or pull. So I can push it, or I can pull it. Now I'm going to leave some room for those single hairs and the other color. Your colors will tend to heal together, I will tell you again. So this is my Coffee Bean and Hershey. The first one was just Hershey Kiss with just a smidge of the butterscotch. Again, I'm very big on warming colors up. And this is my Coffee Bean and Hershey. And so this is going to be my darker color, and I've also switched to the single needle. You know, the hair by hair brows go very quickly. Once you get a good sketch, it's amazing how quickly it goes. So I'm going to run my hairs through. If you want to scatter a few slightly outside, just for a little drama, you can. Remember that the brow is slightly swollen, although the swelling is not quite as obvious as it would be on an eyeliner. Nevertheless, it is, and these hairs are going to heal closer together. You want to always keep some space in there, otherwise you're going to have a solid brow. And again, I don't shoot for that uniform pattern that you see on a lot of people. I think it's just too contrived. I like the subtlety and the flows. I'm going to do my sketch as though this were the pencil. The thing I want to avoid in eyebrows, I want to avoid angry points. And I don't want the tail lower than the front of the brow. Just doing this sketch, we teach so much primary here. Doing this sketch makes it so easy. I'm starting now, I have the single, and I'm going to start with the darker color. This is another growth pattern. Again, we're going to take a look at the W magazine, and I'll explain in better detail how and why I use it. It's wonderful for learning eyebrow patterns. Now I'm going to stay with my single. The trick is to create dimension just using your speed. Now, if I were working on a client, I could be this way. I can be this way. And I can also come this way. So you're going to find women that their hairs really do have this upward movement. So, you know, if all you've learned is a downward, that downward movement, and you're going the opposite direction of the hair, it's just really not going to be natural. They're going to kind of clash. So if her movement is upward, fine, then follow it. Always follow her natural pattern. If she has none, there are no brows present, well, then you can really basically do your favorite. But look at the client, look at her face. How much drama can she carry? Can you give her a really strong hair by hair? Or does she need something really soft and feathery? This is going to give you much more of a feathery look, which I happen to love. Remember, the single needle is so pointy and so sharp and so, you know, precise that you can get into those little small places and really create a beautiful look. The other thing I like about the foam, if you go too deeply, if you have a heavy hand, you're going to hear it and you're going to feel it right away. I think it's much more realistic. We start out with mannequins in our primary, and we go to the foam paper, and hands down, our trainees will tell us they prefer the foam paper. And the other thing is that if they're here working and I'm working with another person on the bed, I can hear it. You can actually hear. I can change my direction, get a soft upward tail. So I'm keeping my ends feathered, a little more density in the middle. So that's another pattern. Just an upward movement. And that was all single needle, one color. Now you can go in with your lighter color in between, and again, they're going to tend to heal very close together. It's not like body art where they have such a delineation. You'll only get that color delineation and separation if you're really doing more like a picket fence hair stroke. And you don't want that look. So don't hesitate to do your first color, and then when they come back in your 4 to 6 weeks, do your second color. It really makes a huge difference in the layering and being able to really see the dimension and depth of the eyebrow. And again, depending on her look and what you're looking for, you know, what can she carry? And if she wants a solid brow, just pick up your 3-liner and call it a day, that's it. But when you're looking for something a little more creative, then I would say you want to go with your 4 flat, your 3 slope, your 5 slope, and your single, or a combination thereof. So now I want to show you a brow using this. I'm going to go back to the slope, and I want to be able to shade and do my hair strokes with it. So let's say we want a little more of a powdery look. It's definitely more diffuse. It's softer, especially when you have a fair blonde, and you really want that. You really want to capture that softness and not give them something that's really obvious. So I'm going to come in with my lighter shade. This is my Hershey Kiss and Butterscotch. I'm going to do a very quick outline, a very quick sketch, because I don't want this perimeter to have, you know, a lot of strength. I want this softer. Again, this is my 3 slope. I prefer the 3 to the 5. I feel like it's just easier to steer. I'll use a 5 when I have a huge eyebrow, just a huge eyebrow. So I've got my sketch. If you get a good sketch, your procedure goes very quickly. And remember, move quickly on your sketch so that you don't get any hard lines, and keep a lot of space in between. So I'm going to come into the interior. I'm going to use the side of my needle. So instead of using it with 3 needles behind each other, like 3 singles that would be behind each other, I'm going to use it on its side. And I'm going to push. And by doing this, I'm getting a wider band of color and a softer band of color. It's very much like calligraphy. If anyone has ever done calligraphy or doing, you know, a makeup artist using a flat brush, wipe often, only because you can really deposit too much color, and you know, you don't want a solid eyebrow. You really want that shaded effect. You can actually go back and forth because you're shading. You're creating that powdery look. It's going to be very soft. You can leave your perimeter hairs a little stronger if you want that little bit of drama, or you can come out to the perimeter and have it be even softer. But again, wipe often, because you can build up color very quickly. So she'd have a really pretty shape, and you can still see those perimeter hairs. And if I want to show them off, then what I'll do is come in, put a few more in between, just scatter some. Hershey Kiss is just one of those great colors. It's one of our biggest sellers because it has so many directions that it can go. You can darken. It doesn't have a lot of red. It may look red on this paper and on your video or your DVD, but it's not. It's actually a golden brown, which I love. If you want to avoid red, it's a great one. I'm scattering my hairs through. And again, if she's sitting next to you on the airplane, you don't have a picket fence, you have a beautiful, soft eyebrow that has movement, and it has grace, not a block of color. And I'm going to scatter a couple of hairs through, just through the center now. And again, if you haven't tried this, just pick up the craft foam and really give it a go on the foam first before you go to a face. You'll just feel so much better. And you can strengthen this up a little. So what I'm trying to do is just give you some ideas so that, like I said, if you feel like, you know, you're trying to learn hair strokes, they're not all the same. Not everyone will look great in a very contrived pattern. It's great to, you have to know hair growth patterns. They're real, they exist. We're even giving you places to look for them. However, not every person is going to look well in the same kind of an eyebrow.